In this quick hit, we're celebrating Labor Day with a list of songs with the word work in the title, and I've also got a bonus list of songs about work. All of that and more coming up next.
You're listening to a 3324 podcast quick hit with Dean Legiro, where Dean shares stories and trivia about his favorite chart hits, actors, movies, and more.
Welcome, friends, to this 3324 podcast quick hit. My name is Dean. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. Do us a favor, take the next step. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook. That would be awesome. And doubly awesome would be to go to our YouTube channel. We've got a YouTube channel where we've got video versions of our podcast. You can find the archive of our live shows as well. So do us a favor, go ahead and subscribe to that and never miss any of our videos that come out as well. So we've got Labor Day is upon us. So I thought it would be fun to compile a list of songs that have work, the word work in the title, as well as another list of songs that are about work. And before we get to that, let's talk a little bit about Labor Day. Why not? Labor Day is always celebrated on the first Monday in September, and it's actually a federal holiday honoring the American labor movement. First proposed in the 1880s, it wasn't until 1887 that Oregon would become the first state to make Labor Day an official holiday. And then by 1894, there were 30 states that were recognizing the holiday. Now, as we all know, Memorial Day is usually considered the unofficial beginning of summer, and Labor Day is considered the unofficial end of summer. Boo! Although summer doesn't actually end until September 22nd, Labor Day is always often also associated with the beginning of school, so the summer fun is coming to an end anyway, and kids are going to work, going to school, and people are returning to work from their summer vacations as well. So let's jump into this. The first group of songs we're going to talk about have the word work in the title. We'll go in year order, and this is certainly not all-encompassing. If you've got some that I missed, go ahead and hit us up on social media. Let us know on Instagram and Facebook which ones are your favorites or which ones did I miss. And the first song, oddly enough, has the word work in the title, but it's not actually about work or while working out a relationship, perhaps. But from 1965, We Can Work It Out from the Beatles is making this list. And it did hit number one, as most Beatles singles did. There's nothing odd, certainly, about that. But the song itself isn't actually about work. But in 1981, the anthem for the Weekend Warrior would be released. That is still played on classic radio stations today, and everybody knows Working for the Weekend by Loverboy. This became the de facto anthem for the Friday night 5 o'clock crowd, and it hit number 29 on the chart. So it actually wasn't a smash hit, but it has grown its legendary status. It was one of those ones that everybody sang and was ready to punch out and start the fun. In 1981, also, Working in the Coal Mine from Devo hit number 43. That was from the animated film Heavy Metal. That was from the soundtrack, but it was a cover originally released in 1966 by Lee Dorsey, and it hit number 5. But new wave group Devo would put their spin on it and make it sound nothing like the Lee Dorsey version, and hit number 43. Following up in 1982, before they hit it big with Sports and The Power of Love and the Back to the Future soundtrack, Huey Lewis and the News were Working for a Living, but only hitting number 41 with it. Bigger Fish would come with their follow-up album Sports, which had the hits Heart and Soul and all that other great stuff, Want a New Drug, and great songs like that. 1983, following up, so we've got songs from 81, 82, and now for 83, the Queen of Disco, Donna Summer, would hit number 3 with She Works Hard for the Money. That would come close to the end of her run of hits, but a great song nevertheless. Closing out the 80s and closing out the list is from his solo album, Primitive Cool, Let's Work from Mick Jagger. It was not a big song. It only hit number 39. Mick Jagger's solo work is never as impactful as his work with the Rolling Stones, but 1987 would see Let's Work from Mick Jagger. On the other side of this little break, now we're going to get to the meat and potatoes. We've got a list of songs that are actually about work, but don't necessarily have work in the title. We'll be right back. Okay, so we're going to reset the list and reset the time machine and reset the years. And these are going to be songs that are about working that you can check out on your own, or if you know them, or if you know one that I missed, again, hit us up on social media and leave us a little comment in Instagram or Facebook, won't you? So first up, we're going to go to 1965 with a song by the group The Vogues, and it's called 5 O'Clock World. I mean, that doesn't describe much less about what your work week is like as you're waiting for 5 o'clock so you can get out. And it is a 5 o'clock world, and that hit number 4 in 1965. The following year, 1966, Australian exports The Easy Beats would hit number 16 with Friday on My Mind, with that droning guitar alternating picking sound. And then it's just a rave up of a song. I really love Friday on My Mind. It's such a great song that epitomizes the sound of the 60s. And they were one of Australia's biggest groups at the time. And even now, they had a run of hits in their home country. Jumping forward to 1974, BTO, also known as Bachman Turner Overdrive, featuring Randy Bachman from the group The Guess Who, that had a string of hits in the late 60s and early 70s. Number 12, they hit with Taking Care of Business. That doesn't describe it much more than that. Following up 2 years later, we get into the disco era a little bit with the song Car Wash by Rose Royce, and that hit number 1, and that is the title track from the movie of the same name, written by Joel Schumacher. And you may know Joel Schumacher as a director in the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s, directing The Lost Boys, directing the last 2 Batman films in the 80s, unfortunately, Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. But he wrote the screenplay for that film, Car Wash. In 1977, we would have our first country crossover. Well, it hit number 1 on the country charts, did not cross over. Take This Job and Shove It by the aptly named artist Johnny Paycheck. I think we know that feeling a lot of times when we're working and things aren't going too well. That might be a song that you want to play when you're at the end of your day. 1978, we would go to classic rock stalwart Styx. The Tommy Shaw vocal Blue Collar Man would hit number 21. And then into the 80s, 2 years later, we would open up the 80s. Dolly Parton would cross over the country charts and the pop charts and hit number 1 with the title track to the movie 9 to 5. 1982 would bring us the Pretenders hitting number 5 with their song Back on the Chain Gang, which kind of, you think you get visions of prisoners and working and breaking rocks and that kind of stuff, but they're working nevertheless. 1983, the following year, Todd Rundgren, a very prolific artist, solo artist, and with his group Utopia, but he would hit only number 63 with the song Bang the Drum All Day, about not wanting to work and just wanting to play your instrument. Finally, we're going to round out this list. We're going to end this quick hit with one of the most iconic songs from the 80s and one of the most iconic music videos as well. And this song went to number 1, and it kind of broke this group out into the big time from their album Brothers in Arms. Dire Straits would hit number 1 with the song Money for Nothing. And if you remember, if you were around back then, or you can find the video on YouTube, it was early computer animation, very early computer animation, but this video was played all over MTV because of the refrain, I want my MTV, and it was a satire about how easy it is to just make music videos and be a rock star, and that's not working. You know, that's money for nothing. You know, real working people, you know, have it harder than that. So you can check by all means, check that out. And there's a little appearance, cameo from Sting on that track as well. So that's going to do it for our list of songs with the word work in the title. And then I give you a list of songs about work as well. So that's going to do it for this 3324 podcast Quick Hit Labor Day edition. This has been Dean. Thanks for joining us again. Just check us out on all the socials. You're about to hear it anyway in our little bumper. And until then, we'll see you on the flip side.
This has been a 3324 podcast Quick Hit. You can find us on your favorite podcast provider. So please like, subscribe, and rate to become a part of the 3324 family. Your feedback is important, so please make sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at 3324podcast and on Twitter at 3324p to join the conversation.